Well, welcome to another week of Kids Church at Home. I'm your host, Jonathan Owen, also known as Jawu, also known as Hey You by people who don't know my name. Anyway, we're so glad you're here and you're joining us this morning. I miss you guys. I hope you're doing well. I know for a lot of you guys, you're probably starting back to school, and it's going to be okay. I mean, let's be honest. Most of you going back to school are not going back to school all the time. It's like 2 days maybe, and for a lot of you, you're homeschooled for the first time ever. Welcome to the club. You're officially a homeschooler. Anyway, we're so glad that you have joined us today, whatever day it is, and oh boy, we got a lot of really great stuff for you this morning. We want to get to a couple important things first right off the bat, and the first of all, most important thing we want to say is that this week we have a birthday, and I'm talking about Madison Butler. It is Madison Butler's birthday this week, and I could have sworn she had a birthday last year, but apparently she has got one this year as well. Madison, happy birthday! From me and all of our friends here at Kids Church at Home, Squeep and Squop, the whole crew. But here's a little friend to wish you happy birthday, and we hope you have a wonderful day.
Boing, boing. Boing, boing. Boing, 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 boing. Boing, 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 boing. Boing, 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 boing. Boing, 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 boing. Boing, boing. Boing, 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 boing.
Now, before we get into our lesson, we do have some really important announcements. I want to remind you that we are doing sign-ups right now for our Kingdom Kids Christmas musical. It is going to be all done kind of on video. So you'll be sending in videos. We'll be doing some video skits and shoot it kind of like a movie. It's going to be really, really exciting and fun, and unlike anything we've done before. Even though this whole coronavirus has changed everything, it's ended up making us have to do some things that I think are ending up going to be really cool. So we would love for you to join us. Now, if you are watching Kids Church at Home and you live in a different state, you can probably join us too if you want to. You can just go to our church's website, to our Kingdom Kids page on there, just look for our kids ministry, and you can register there and be a part of our kids musical. You can videotape yourself, send it in, and we're really, really excited. The deadline to sign up to be a part of Kingdom Kids is next Sunday. So you've got one more week to sign up to say, hey, I'm in the musical. I want to be a part of it. Again, you're going to be able to do all of the things kind of from home or setting up and kind of videotaping them in a way that's kind of keeping everyone distance. But wanted you to know a couple other things. Another thing is that we have got our Adventure Crew that is starting. Adventure Crew, if you don't know, is our Bible memory program where we go through a little book called our handbook, and it's got verses that we memorize and adventures that we go on, and you earn little badges on a little lanyard. And we have got our brand new book that we'll be sending out in a little over a week to all of our kids. If you're in kindergarten through 5th grade, you can sign up to be part of the Adventure Crew. So that is starting in September, but this coming Sunday, the next Sunday, is also the last day to sign up for that as well, because the next week we're going to send out all of the books. Also, we've thrown in a couple extra surprises for you that you'll get in the mail. Also, if you come to Kids Church in person, you can pick them up here as well. That way you don't have to get them in the mail, and you can just pick them up here and have them right away, and we cannot wait to start that. One more thing, this Saturday is the big event. I'm talking about the Drive-Thru Adventure. The Drive-Thru Adventure, which is our church-wide, city-wide scavenger hunt for the entire family. Everyone's going to be a part of this, and we cannot wait. This is going to be a blast. I guarantee it'll be one of the most fun Saturday mornings you have had in a very long time. So please, sign up to be a part of our scavenger hunt. It's really, really simple. All you have to do, I'll tell you on this video, all you have to do. On your phone, if your parents have a phone, download the app called Goose Chase. Goose Chase. It's orange. It's got little duck feet or goose feet, I guess. And it's Goose Chase. Download that, and then all you got to do is look for our church's game. So search SMCC. You'll see our church's logo when you search for it. Really easy to find. Download Goose Chase. When it says find a game, put an SMCC, and you'll see our church. Join the game, and then create a team. You could do it as a family. And we could be like Team Owen or Team whatever your face's name is. And you're in. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do to sign up. Really, really simple. And then in that app, on Saturday at 9 o'clock, missions are going to be unlocked. There's going to be tons of missions that you can do and complete. You can do them at your home. Some of them you'll do around the city, but they'll all be done on the app. You will be going places and taking pictures or shooting video or solving riddles or puzzles. There's some that are, all you got to do is just go to a certain location and the mission knows that you went there and you complete that mission. And the cool thing is that everything you're doing, every time you upload a picture or a video to your mission, it goes to a little game feed that everyone in the app gets to see. So if you're playing and I'm playing, I get to see your pictures and videos, you get to see mine. So it's like our whole church is kind of getting to play together. If you are in another city, you can still do it. Now there's some missions that you won't be able to do, but a lot of them you'll be able to do. And honestly, a lot of them you could probably even pull off in your own house. So it's going to be so much fun. Every mission is worth a different amount of points. There's a leaderboard that's going to be updating moment by moment up to the second you complete a mission. Your points go on there. We're giving out bonus points for special events and lots of different things. It's going to be so much fun, and I don't want you to miss out on it. That's our Goose Chase app. Sign up SMCC, create a team. So don't miss it this Saturday, 9 o'clock, drive-through adventure. Be there, and I hope you win. It's going to be a blast. We even have an award that we'll be giving out as well, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Well, before we get into our lesson, let's get to our Kids Church rules.
Welcome to the Kids Church Rules with me, Greco, everyone's favorite meat eater. Rule number 1, please sit up straight. Go ahead. Rule number 2, look up front at me. Rule number 3, please keep your hands in your lap. Rule number 4, don't talk to anyone. And rule number 5, don't let anyone talk to you. And rule number 6 is please. No vegetables, only bacon. Goodbye. I smell meat. Ah, there it is.
Well, we are going to ask our big question for the month of August. And if you've been paying attention, you know what that question is about. It's about miracles. And the question is this: why did Jesus perform miracles? We've already seen 2 miracles. One of them was Jesus calming the wind and the waves. He was in the boat. He told everything to stop, and it did. The second miracle we looked at last week was Jesus feeding the 5,000. And it was more than 5,000. He fed 5,000 men, but also their wives and their kids, and maybe they had a little dog and they fed them too. Anyway, but all of these people ate. Why did he perform these miracles? Well, a couple of things that we've seen is 2 weeks ago when we saw Jesus calming the storms, one of the reasons he performed that miracle was because when he did, the men in the boat, his disciples, marveled, saying, "Who is this? That even the wind and the waves, they obey this man." Like, who is this man? He's doing something that someone on this earth can't do. I cannot stop the wind. I cannot stop the waves. I can hold up an umbrella and keep my head from getting rained on, but I can't turn the rain off. I can't. But Jesus did. And so they marveled, saying, "Who is this? Who is this?" And the answer to that is, well, it's God. He is God. And so the reason he performed this miracle was to show that he was God. The only person who can control the creation is the Creator. And he was showing them that that was him. Now, last week, we saw Jesus perform another miracle, once again doing something that goes beyond the rules of the world that we live in. You cannot calm the wind and the waves. You can wait for them to stop. And you cannot take 5 loaves and 2 fish and feed a crowd of over 5,000. You can't do that unless people have like little tiny crumbs and they're giving up. But that's not it. There was more than enough food. And not only that, there were leftovers. They had doggy bags to go home in. There was so much food left over. And so the people, seeing this miracle, saw not only is this person God, but also Jesus' miracle, it met the needs of the people who were with him. The people were hungry. And his miracle helped meet their need. This miracle not only proved that Jesus is who he said he is God, but it also showed that he really loves people and desires to meet their need. And we know that the greater need that Jesus came to meet is not just to fill our stomachs with bread, but he came to fill our hearts because he was the bread of life. He came to bring us true life, salvation through the gospel. Now today we're going to look at another miracle. And we're going to see another reason that Jesus performed this miracle. But before we do that, I want to tell you about a place I went to. There is a place that is one of the most incredible places that I've ever visited. It is a waterfall. And it sits right in between the United States and Canada. And in between the United States and Canada is a waterfall that's one of the largest waterfalls in the entire world. It's super, super wide. There's other waterfalls that are taller, but there's no waterfall that's wide like this. And it is called Niagara Falls. And you can stay on the United States side or the Canada side. And about maybe 8 or 9 years ago, my family went on a little trip and we drove up from Ohio, where my parents lived, up through Buffalo, New York, had some buffalo wings in the place where they invented buffalo. My dream come true. And then we went across the river into Canada and we stayed in a hotel overlooking this waterfall, and it is absolutely beautiful. You can actually even get on a boat that's called the Maid of the Mist. And it's this boat that goes down underneath by the waterfall, not underneath the waterfall, that would be disastrous, but by it. It's called the Maid of the Mist because all of that water coming down creates all this mist, and you wear these giant raincoats and you're gonna get wet. But it's such an incredible and powerful view of this just monstrous waterfall. And I want to show you a little bit of what the waterfall looks like. Here, check this out. This incredible waterfall has been around for forever, right? It's been around for a very long time. But someone did something one day that had never been done before. There is a man who went by the name Blondin, and he was a performer. He was a tightrope walker. Now, I am not a good tightrope walker. Every now and then, my kids will walk on the little parking, the little parking bumps, they're like the little cement things that go in front of parking spaces, and they walk across them. And one of my daughters did gymnastics, and she walked on the balance beam, and I sometimes can't even do very well walking down a sidewalk. But this guy, the Blondin, this amazing Blondin, would walk on a tightrope. And he decided one day that he was going to do something that had never been done before. He got a wire and he stretched it from the Canadian side of the falls all the way to the American side, and decided that he was going to walk across on a tightrope over Niagara Falls. This Niagara Falls, the falls that you just saw. And he did it. But he didn't just do that, because this man was unbelievable. In fact, check out a little story about the amazing Blondin and see exactly how amazing he was. Check this out.
Jean-Francois Gravelet, better known as Blondin, was a famous tightrope walker and acrobat. He's perhaps best known for his many crossings of a tightrope, 1,100 feet in length, suspended 160 feet above Niagara Falls in the USA. His act would be watched by large crowds and begin with a relatively simple crossing using a balancing pole. Then he would throw away the pole and amaze the onlookers. On one occasion, he crossed the tightrope on stilts. On another occasion, blindfolded. Another time, he stopped halfway to cook and eat an omelette. In 1860, a royal party from England came to watch Blondin perform. After his normal spectacular crossings, he then wheeled a wheelbarrow from one side to the other as the crowd cheered. Next, he put a sack of potatoes into the wheelbarrow and wheeled that across. The crowd cheered louder. Then he approached the royal party and asked the Duke of Newcastle, "Do you believe that I could take a man across the tightrope in this wheelbarrow?" "Yes, I do," said the Duke. "Ah, hop in," replied Blondin. The crowd fell silent, but the Duke of Newcastle would not accept Blondin's challenge. "Is there anyone else here who believes I could do it?" asked Blondin. No one was willing to volunteer. Eventually, an old woman stepped out of the crowd and climbed into the wheelbarrow. Blondin wheeled her all the way across and all the way back. The old woman was Blondin's mother, the only person willing to put her life in his hands.
So the amazing Blondin does this incredible, incredible feat. But the real incredible feat he does is when he asks if anyone wants to get into his wheelbarrow, wants to go with him. And the amazing thing is that people believe he can do it, but no one will actually do it. And he's done incredible and amazing things. I mean, you saw in the video, he did backflips on it. You saw him, he actually cooked an omelet. He lowered a rope down to that, remember the Maid of the Mist boat I told you about? He lowered a rope down and lifted up a little camping stove, and he cooked breakfast for himself on the tightrope, and then lowered it back down. Another time he carried tables and chairs on his back, set the table and chair up on the tightrope, sat back and kicked his feet up. The chair ended up going over the edge and falling into the falls, but he caught himself and he was okay. He even crossed the Niagara Falls at night. He put a big train lantern, that one that would sit on the front of a train, and put on both sides and walked across in the middle of the night. But when it came time for someone to get in with him, no one would do it. The only person who truly believed in him was his mom. All the other people said they believed him, but they didn't really. To really believe it means to step out in faith, to have faith that it can happen, that you do believe it. You know, Jesus' disciples have seen Jesus perform incredible miracles. They saw Jesus, last week we saw him feed the 5,000 people. The disciples were there when there was no food. They were there when the food got brought from a little boy to Jesus. They were the ones passing the food out. They were the one collecting all the extra food left over. They saw that. They were in the boat when Jesus calmed the wind and the waves. They were there when Jesus healed the people who were blind and who were lame. They were there when Jesus healed that little girl who everyone thought had died, and he brought her back. They had witnessed all of these things. And there's going to come a moment in our lesson today where we're going to see that they have an opportunity to truly have faith in Jesus. Jesus has proven time and time again who he is to them. He's done things that no other man can do, showing that he truly is God. But now comes the time for them to truly have faith in Jesus. You know, when we have faith in something, it's putting our trust in it. In a way, it's stepping out on it. It's not just saying that we believe it. It's by giving ourselves to it. It's by that belief being put into action. And as we're going to see today, one of the disciples is going to try to put his faith into action and trust in Jesus. And it doesn't go so well, but it ultimately leads to him truly having faith. Let's check this out.
Jesus had been teaching crowds of people by the Sea of Galilee. It was getting late, so he told his disciples to get into the boat and go to the other side of the sea. Jesus sent the crowds away and went up on the mountain to pray by himself. That evening, the boat was far from the shore. The wind blew and the waves tossed the boat around. Jesus was still on the mountain, alone. Around 3 a.m, Jesus came toward his disciples walking on the sea. When the disciples saw Jesus, they were terrified. "It's a ghost!" they cried. Right away, Jesus spoke to them. "Have courage, it's me. Do not be afraid." Peter answered, "Lord, if it really is you, tell me to come to you on the water." So Jesus said, "Come." Peter got out of the boat and started walking on the water toward Jesus. But when Peter saw how strongly the wind was blowing, he was afraid. Peter began to sink. "Lord, save me!" he cried. Jesus reached out his hand and grabbed Peter. Jesus said, "You have little faith. Why do you doubt?" They got into the boat and the wind stopped. Then everyone in the boat worshiped Jesus and said, "Truly, you are the Son of God." Jesus proved that he can be trusted. His miracles, teaching, death, and resurrection showed that he is who he says he is. Only Jesus can save us when we look to him in faith.
These men saw Jesus walking on the water, and Peter wants to get out and walk on the water too. He has incredible faith in Jesus. So he gets out of the boat and begins to walk. He's doing it. He truly is putting his faith and trust in what Jesus said is true. But then his eyes turn off of Jesus. He sees a wave come and his faith begins to falter. He wonders, maybe he can't. Could you imagine? You've already stepped out on the water. You would think by then, this guy can do anything. I mean, what can Jesus not do? I've seen him do incredible things, but now here comes a pretty big wave. And yet, he doubted. And I gotta be honest with you. I've seen God do incredible things in my own life. And yet there's times where I feel a lot like Peter, where I doubt as well. Well, I wonder, is God really going to come through? Is God really going to be true to his word? Can he really be trusted? And it's in those moments where we prove that our faith in him is really genuine. When Jesus get back in the boat, the disciples, they really realize, they say, truly, this is the Son of God. And they begin to worship him. And you know what? The place that we put our faith in Jesus the most is not just that he'll provide for our needs, not just that he'll be there for us, but the thing that we put our faith and trust in him for more than anything is for our salvation. You know, when we become a Christian, what we're doing is that we are putting our faith and trust in Jesus for our salvation. The work that Jesus did on the cross, we are putting our hope in that. Not hope in ourselves, but we are putting our hope in what Jesus has done. You know, we can say we believe in God. You'll probably hear a lot of people say they believe in God. They might even say that they believe in Jesus. It's not an unpopular thing to believe in God. You've probably heard people win an award or a game and they thank God, and you might think, hey, that person is a Christian. But it's one thing to believe in God. It's another thing to put your faith and trust in Jesus and the work that he's done on the cross. And when we become a Christian, what we're saying is that I'm putting my trust in him. Because I know that I am not good enough, that I'm a sinner, I cannot stand on my own, I cannot save myself, I can't be good enough, but Jesus was, and I'm putting my hope and trust in him. Today, our questions from kids is about the question of faith and how we have faith and what we do when we have a hard time having faith. Let's check this out.
Hi there, I'm Pastor Brian, and it's time for Questions from Kids. Julia from East Orange, New Jersey asks,
How can I have a stronger faith?
Oh, Julia, that is a question we all need to keep asking ourselves. Great question. So here's the thing. We know that faith needs to be grown. It's kind of like a muscle. Some people have called it a muscle that you have to keep exercising and stretching it so it grows and becomes stronger. And so how do we do that? Well, there are a few ways that we can do that. The first one I can think of is by spending more time in the Bible. The more we read the Bible, the more we study it, the more we understand who God is, the way He works, the greater confidence we have in Him. We know how we're to live. And so reading the Bible is perhaps one of the greatest ways you can grow in your faith. Other ways are prayer, talking with God, asking Him to grow you, asking Him to help you learn and to live on faith. Another way is by worshiping, being part of a church. This is why it's so important that we're part of a family of faith and we gather regularly and worship together and study together and talk through these things, learn from one another. But all these things lead us to this one idea that I think is really important you hear. You have to stretch your faith. You have to put yourself in positions that are uncomfortable at times to grow in that faith. Think again about muscles. Think about, lifting weights. Lifting weights is not easy. You have to strain and stretch yourself and you add more weight and there are times you're like, I don't know if I can do this, but you keep pushing. And it's through that exertion that your muscles grow stronger. If you never put weights on the barbell and just lifted an empty barbell, you're not gonna really gain muscle. So it's the same thing with our faith. If we're never stretching ourselves, if we're never stepping into those uncomfortable areas of life, if we're never sitting down with that person in the cafeteria and praying that God opens a conversation to talk about your faith with him or her, then you're not gonna grow as much. It's through those uncomfortable, stretching moments that we really grow. So I wanna encourage you to do that. Share your faith with other people. Go on mission trips. Live for Christ day by day, and you will see your faith grow by leaps and bounds, I believe, when you do that. So I hope that has been helpful, and again, that's something that we all need to be doing. So question back for you, who or what are you looking to be secure? Where is your faith found?
You see, it is our faith in Jesus that brings salvation. And we want to sing a song about that, about where our salvation comes from. It comes from Christ. So we hope you'll sing this song with us.
Ephesians 2, 4, and 5.
But God, being rich in mercy because of the great love with which He loved us, even when we were dead in our trespasses, made us alive together with Christ. By grace you have been saved. By grace you have been saved. We're alive. We're alive. In mercy because of the great love with which He loved us, even when we were dead in our trespasses, made us alive together with Christ. By grace you have been saved. By grace you have been saved. We're alive. We're alive. We're alive. Oh yeah. We're alive. But God, being rich in mercy because of the great love with which He loved us, even when we were dead in our trespasses, made us alive. Made us alive. Alive together with Christ. By grace you have been saved. By grace you have been saved. We're alive. We're alive. We're alive. We're alive. We are A-L-I-V-E. We're alive. Christ is in me. We are A-L-I-V-E. We're alive. Christ is in me. Yes.
Because of God's great love for us, and because of the God being rich in mercy and his great love, he's made us alive together with Christ. And our response to that, our response to being saved through faith in Jesus, should be one of great praise and thanksgiving. As a Christian, we should always be full of thanksgiving, because when we are always mindful, when we never forget what Jesus has done for us, and that it's not about us, but our faith is in him, we're constantly reminded that we are to be thankful for what God has done for us. You know, you could imagine someone who is in a lake and they're swimming. Maybe it's a kid who's maybe 6, 7 years old. They've just learned to swim, and now they're kind of testing out the waters. They don't have to wear the floaties anymore, and now they're on their own, and they're kind of getting a little bit further into the deep end. And maybe they get further out, and they can't touch anymore, and they begin to get tired. And maybe their leg cramps up, or maybe they get winded, or a little wave kind of hits them in the face, and they swallow some water. They begin coughing, and then they begin to slip beneath the water. But just then, someone dives into the water and swims fast, and it is a lifeguard. Someone who's strong, who knows how to swim. And they put their arm around this little kid who's drowning, and they lift him up out of the water, and they begin to swim for shore. Do you think that kid is thankful to that lifeguard? Yeah, of course. And I would imagine all the way back to the shore, and once that kid is on the shore, I would imagine the kid who's now okay, who could have drowned so easily and now has been saved, it would be very unimaginable for that kid not to thank the lifeguard. And I would imagine the mom who maybe watched this unfold would run up to the lifeguard and say, thank you so much. We cannot thank you enough for everything that you've done. You saved my kid's life. You see, our response to being saved by God, by being saved through the work of Jesus on the cross, should move us to deep thanksgiving. And so we want to sing a song about giving thanks to the Lord, because his love, it lasts forever and it's good. Would you sing this with me?
Psalm 136, 1 through 6, and 26.
Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever. Give thanks to the God of gods. His love endures forever. Give thanks to the Lord of lords. His love endures. His love endures. His love endures
now it is time for the moment, really the reason you really tune in to Kids Church. Argus's bad joke of the day. Argus, take it away. And now it's time for the Sunday Showdown. All right, now it is time for our game. We're going to play an old favorite. We've played it a few times here at Kids Church at Home, and it's just so stinking fun. I'm talking about 12 items in 12 seconds. Now, the way that we play 12 items in 12 seconds is that you have to eat 12 items in 12... No, that's not how you play. Here's what you gotta do. In a minute, you'll need a piece of paper and a pen or something to write on, maybe a crayon and a wall in your living room. Just kidding. Please don't do that. Something that you can write on. And I'm gonna show you 12 items for, prepare yourself, that's right, 12 seconds. All you gotta do is memorize all 12 items. Think about it. All you gotta do, memorize one in a second. Oh, there's a dog. Dog. There's a cat. Cat. There's a frog. Dog. Cat. Frog. Boom. That was 3 items in 3 seconds, which is the beginner level. But we're not playing that, are we? No. We're playing 12 items in 12 seconds. So I'm gonna show you 12 items. You have to memorize those. Don't write them down. That's cheating. After the 12 seconds, then you'll have about 30 seconds to write down every single one that you can remember. Then I will show you the picture again of what the items are. Check off all the ones that you got right. Keep your score. We're gonna play 4 rounds of 12 items in 12 seconds. Are you ready? Here is round number 1. That is a weird bunch of stuff. These are all the items that I usually keep in my backpack. It's true. No, it's not. All right, now it is time to check your answers. We're gonna put all the pictures back up on the screen, see how well you did. Here are all the items. How'd you do? Did you do good? Here is round number 2. Now that is part of a complete breakfast. That's a lot of good food. Do you remember what the food was? Let's see how you did. Did you get them all right? Probably not. I never do. But here are the answers so you can check your work. All right, here is now round 3, and these are all articles of clothing. Are you ready? Suit up, here we go. Here's our 12 items. Prepare. Let's do it. All right, how'd you do? Did you get them all? Well, let's check and see how you did.
Here we go now.
And now it is time for our fourth and final round. I'm going to be honest with you. This round is the hardest round ever. It's true. Because it is all numbers. I'm not a numbers guy. I'm not good at numbers. I don't remember numbers very well. I'm not good at putting them together, subtracting them, dividing them, multiplying, or counting by them. 1, 2, 4. See? All right, anyway, here is round number 4. It is 4. Hey, I'm not too bad. See if you can remember all these numbers. 12 items in 12 seconds. Throw a few more numbers at you. And then you'll have 30 seconds to write down all of the numbers that you can remember. Good luck. You're going to need it. I'll be lucky if I got one. One? No, not a number. All right, here is all the answers, and let's see how you did. Well, I hope you did well. Great job if you did, and if you didn't, it's okay. It's not a big deal. It's just Kids Church at Home. Not Jeopardy. All right, here is our missions moment. In today's missions moment, we're not going to talk about people. Normally we do talk about missionaries. We're going to talk about animals that are missionaries. No, that's not true. But instead of focusing on a family who works in a certain country, I want to talk about part of being a missionary and part of your life as a missionary. You know, we've got missionaries that we support as our church that work in our country. We have some that work in England, in Germany, that work in Brazil, and that work in El Salvador, and Costa Rica, and in Africa, and in parts of Asia. And every person who's a missionary has a little bit of a different way of getting around. You know, when my family was in Hungary last year adopting our little son, we did not have a car. I got a driver's license to drive a car in Europe, but I never got to use it, which was probably a good thing because it was just madness traffic over there, and it's probably best that I did not have a car. But the way that we got around was we used public transportation in Budapest. And their transportation there is very different than ours. Here, we don't have a lot of public transportation in Birmingham. Every now and then you see a bus, maybe a taxi cab. Sometimes people use Uber, but that's kind of it. We got trains, but most people don't ride around on trains. And then we got airplanes. But in Budapest, the way you get around the city, most people, is they use public transportation, and the transportation there is a lot of things. They have metros that run underneath the ground. You'd see those here in our country, in big cities. Another thing that they have is that they have buses, just like we do, but they're everywhere. They also have trolley buses. So there are these buses, the blue buses that are normal are like they're blue. Then they have these red buses, and they have these two giant like poles that stick out of the back of the bus and connect to these like electric wires that run up and down every single street. They would run up and down our street, and you'd hear them going by, and you'd see little sparks coming and running by, and they would go on this one little path and all around the city, and you'd ride these trolley buses. They also had trams, so they were kind of like these trains that ran above ground, and they ran in the middle of the street. So you would have one side of the street and another side of the street, and then in between them, you would have this yellow tram that would go from the top of the city around, and you would go all the way back around. So we just kind of kept going this way. And then also the river, the Danube, had these trams that went back and forth like this. And they also had buses that connected the two sides so you could take a bus. So they had everything you can imagine to get around. Also, a lot of people rode bikes, and a lot of people rode scooters, like racer type scooters, the kind of scooters that you might have in your garage or right around the park. We would see like businessmen in suits and a briefcase riding on their scooter. That's how people got around in Budapest, and we did all of those things. We even bought scooters to fit in, and also it was kind of fun. I didn't get a scooter, but my kids did, and my wife did. Maybe someday. Anyway, but missionaries have to use different kinds of transportation to get around. And so we got a little video that's going to show you all the different ways that missionaries use to get around to share the gospel. And the reason that this is so interesting to me is that we as people have been called by God to bring the gospel to the world, to share about the good news of Jesus. And we want to take it to the world no matter what it takes. So if it means we got on an airplane, if it means we got on a bus, if it means we hop in the back of a truck, if it means we hop on the back of a donkey, if it means we walk deep into the woods, we will do whatever we can and whatever it takes to bring the message of the gospel to our world, because as Christians, that is what we are called to do. So check this out.
Whether cruising down highways in some of the world's largest cities or bumping along dirt roads to get to hard-to-reach villages, a missionary's daily commute can look very different from typical transportation in America. Here are some of the ways missionaries get around the world. Boats. In the Amazon jungle, dugout canoes facilitate trade and maintain communication between villages and cities. One journey can last 3 days or 3 weeks. Nevertheless, it is the only mode of transportation to further the gospel, said a missionary in Brazil. Metros. Light rail is commonplace in commutes for missionaries in the world's megacities. Metros are usually crowded, so riding the metro can be an exercise in letting go of personal space. Trains. In some locations, people spend days on the train to reach their destination. As missionaries roll across the countryside, children play with newfound friends, people swap stories, and the conductor sells ice cream. In India, the railroad is one of the country's most efficient modes of transportation. Cars. Cars are popular among the middle and upper class in South Asia, but there are a few major differences when driving a car in these countries. Missionaries must master the skill of driving on the left side of the road. Some roads are full of ruts and potholes. During the rainy season, some villages are completely inaccessible for months at a time without a four-wheel drive vehicle, said a missionary in Southeast Asia. Buses. Until recently, owning a car was too expensive for most East Asians. For the lower and middle classes, buses are affordable and accessible. In Kenya, matatus are brightly colored buses or vans operated by private owners. These vehicles are decorated with bright colors and unique decorations to get the attention of potential customers. Trucks. Trucks are a common sight in sub-Saharan and North Africa. Some missionaries serve where seatbelts are only a suggestion, and riding in the back of a truck with 14 of your closest friends is an acceptable mode of transportation. Motorbikes. Motorbikes are a useful and inexpensive means of transportation. According to a worker in South Asia, motorbike drivers go anywhere on the road they want. Sidewalks, ditches, and in between cars. Another worker in Southeast Asia confessed, "Seeing multiple people on a scooter at once always makes me smile." Bicycles. Missionaries often have the opportunity to learn to balance groceries and sometimes kids as they ride through some of the biggest biking cities in the world. Missionaries in Europe say that as a result of biking, they've had conversations with other cyclists, and there has almost always been a chance to talk about Jesus. Animals. Some missionaries work with people who use more lively forms of transport, like donkeys or camels. Camels were created to survive with little water and food, making them a great choice in rugged, dry terrain, even if they do spit sometimes. Donkey carts can still be seen in many sub-Saharan African, Central Asian, and European villages. No matter the transportation, missionaries all over the world pray that God will place people in the seat next to them who need to hear about Jesus.
Well, the question we asked at the beginning of our lesson was, why does Jesus perform miracles? And the answer is this: Jesus performed miracles to glorify God, to show he is the Son of God, and to care for people. And we really saw that in our lesson today. When the disciples saw Jesus walk on water and he gets in the boat, and they marveled and they worshiped him and they said, you really are the Son of God. They were marveling because this miracle that Jesus performed helped them understand and come to know that he really was the Son of God. And we can know that God and Jesus has done the most incredible thing by dying on the cross for us. We want to work on our verse really quickly that we have for the month of August. Will you say it with me as I put it up on the screen? You have multiplied, O Lord my God, your wondrous deeds and your thoughts toward us. None can compare with you. I will proclaim and tell of them, yet they are more than can be told. Psalm 40:50. Jesus has done all of these wondrous things. And you want to know something kind of interesting? Jesus did more things than we know about. You know, the Gospels, they only cover a small part of Jesus' life. If you wrote down everything Jonathan Owen did, it would be a very big book. It would have some very boring parts, but it would also have some pretty exciting parts, some scary parts, and probably some funny parts, and then some embarrassing parts, lots of those. But you know what? The story of Jesus' life that we see in the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they don't actually cover everything that Jesus did. And the disciples saw everything that Jesus did while he was here on earth when they were with him. When he started his ministry at age 30, and they were with him day in and day out, and they began to witness and to see all of these things. And it's really incredible thought to think that all the wondrous things that we read about in Scripture, to know that Jesus has done even more things. And that God has done an immeasurable amount of incredible and wondrous things. So in a way, God is greater than we know. He's done more than we can ever know. Jesus is more wonderful than we can tell. And so we have faith in him because not only of what we've seen, but about what we know about him to be true. Well, let's see how well you were paying attention. And here is our big review. Thanks for tuning in to Kids Church at Home today. Don't forget, sign up for Kingdom Kids. Sign up for Adventure Crew and join us this Saturday for our drive-through adventure for the whole family. Come and join the fun. We can't wait to have you on our trip. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
3,